Alfie is a WOR race winner.
Jensen makes it 5 in a row.
Danny Berejnay wins on debut.
Shinaka returns to winning ways in WOR.
Season 12 sees a new man. It's Shadow. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jensen is the new king of PlayStation.
From the back row of the grid, against all odds, Nicholas Longy wins the title.
Goes past the safety car.
What has gone on here?
Bourbon spin, stunning move from the Spaniard.
He's taken out Rambo. Here comes Longy.
We're going 4-way down to turn 1.
Oh, he's taking him out.
The captain riders collide.
Sonic to the inside.
Got a win to Brazil. Absolutely sensational.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to Tier 2 of WOR PC. We're heading from one sunny country all the way to the land down under. From Miami to Australia, we are going to have a sunny, fun race. And I'm never alone. Never, ever alone. I'm joined by my co-colleague all the way in Germany, Badgerman. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastically. I've done some commentaries alone before, so I'm glad not to be alone today. How are you doing?
Was going to be a more interesting day, but you know, we stick with the boys, we stick with commentary, and we leave it as that. We as I mentioned, we're heading to Australia. What a track that is!
Yeah, it's certainly very interesting. It's been around since 1996, 5.278 kilometers long. It used to be 25 meters longer, sorry. But of course, the recent changes in the last couple of years have made this track, I think, more interesting. We are going to see faster laps on average. We are going to see more high-speed sections, and we should, hopefully, see some more overtakes as well.
In theory, of course. Now, I've been fortunate, I'm sure you have as well. I've commentated social races on this track. I've commentated, what else have I commentated on? The other leagues as well. I'm not going to mention names because we don't promote. So I've done a few races, and definitely turn 9 has become more of an overtaking opportunity zone. This area, actually, Drake Dempsey's perfect to demonstrate us the new area.
Let's see, there we go. Yeah, this is very high speed. There used to be a quite severe right-left combination, almost a chicane. That is pretty much gone now, and it's all just flat out all the way to the fast sweeping chicane of turns 9 and 10. Which, as you said, yeah, they will become a little bit more of an overtaking opportunity, but turn 11 is the one I would look out for. We just went through that, the right-hander. They make the straight a little bit longer, and then the turn a little bit more sharper. So you really get more straight line speed and a heavier braking zone, which will promote in-turn overtaking. So everyone's been talking about the change that they've made to turn 8, original turn 9, I think it was called. Getting rid of that, but I think this is the more severe change. Turn 11 now used to be turn 13, has gotten a massive reprofiling and heavier braking zone, sharper corner, better overtaking, hopefully.
absolutely, and it can actually flow with 11 as well. You see a couple of action diving into turn 11 and then flowing through to turn 12. Now, I'm one who loves a bit of a chain battle that continues on. We can see that from turn 1 and turn 2. They fight through that into turn 3, and if you're really lucky, you end up fighting in turn 4. Again, chain overtaking will happen from turn 9. You won't see much side by side, but if one makes an overtake or doesn't fully commit, he will have a retake at 11, which then follows to 12. Drake Dempsey, he's been on a lap, he's been pushing hard, and it's been looking kind of clean from him, you know? No major mistakes, no noticeable mistakes. Gonna set the benchmark for today, which will be, as the start-finish line's a bit further down the straight, a 1:16.8. Do you think we're gonna get lower than that?
I think we will, yes. It's a good lap, don't get me wrong, it's certainly a good lap, especially for starters, but I think we will get lower than that. Just to give you an idea, by the way, on the old circuit with the sharper turn 9, the lap record in real life was set in 2004 by Michael Schumacher in the beautiful, gorgeous Ferrari F2004. With a 1:24.1. And on this circuit, the lap record is a 1:20.2 by Charles Leclerc this year. So 4 seconds quicker. If we were on the old layout, these drivers would probably be running around 1:21 lap times.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. I've got a feeling today, talking about esports, because esports times is always somehow massively quicker. I've got a feeling we could possibly see, I'm going to say a 16-2 is my prediction.
That is a bold prediction, to say the least. Who would be next to cross the line? There's a lot going on in the last sector. I think Sabrino has invalidated. Harvick Cohen's back into the pits. Jack Humphreys getting back into the pits.
Modest Mina in the Ferrari?
There's not. Yeah, I think so. He's about the only one, and no, he didn't just start. Sorry, he's about to end. Yeah, 44.3 in the middle sector, or after 2 sectors rather. As he's coming through the final corner, what does he get? Is he gonna be the second drive into the 116s? No, 17.2 P5 right now. Not even beating his teammate Jeffrey Ritchie yet, but the gap is very minor, less than half a tenth. And a bunch of invalidations. Sabrino, Wukomski, Tom97, Miklavcic, they've all invalidated, and we got 2 drivers on outlaps. That would be Thomas Harvey, who really just came out of the pits, and Harlem Marquez, who is heading into the final sector, who is in the final sector now.
Yeah, we've also got Sergio Sabrino also on a lap as well. He's trying to put in a good time, but we flick over to Martinez, or as Tom97, as we all know him. Is he going to put himself in the 16s? No, again, drivers are struggling to get into that 16 mark, and our All-American Drake Dempsey, only one holding himself in the 16 territory.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sergio Sabrino has actually aborted his lap, went back into the pit lane. Here comes Harlan Marquez to start his lap. Modesta Mena seems to be heading into the pits right now. Yep, okay. I was a bit worried that he was going to go for a second lap, and we were going to miss it, but no. Harlan Marquez down to turn 3. It's looking good so far. I'm going to try to go on board as well here. There we go. Oh, he's got some traffic in front. That's not what you want to see. That's the outlap of Primoz Miklavcic. And thankfully, he moved out of the way quite well. So this shouldn't have cost Harlem anything here. But there's more traffic coming. There's also a yellow flag for someone going slowly in the final sector. But that should sort itself out over time as well. There is, I think, Jeffrey Ritchie is the next one on an outlap, and that works fine as well. So all the traffic so far navigated quite well. Next one's gonna be Tom97, who's on his in lap. Let's hope he notices the car behind, and won't even be much of a worry, as Tom97 now on pit entry Everything's fine. And here comes Harlem Marquez across the line. 1 minute 16. The clock is ticking, and even he misses it by 8 thousandths of a second. But it is P2. Provisional front row for Harlem Marquez. Tom Harvey coming through as well. 44-2 after 2 sectors. That doesn't look as good to me. No, 17-7. And he may have invalidated? His time isn't showing up for me.
I've got Harvey Cohen on the screen. He's going at nearly 2 tenths faster, which is what he needs to take P1. So the Red Bull is coming alive now. Drivers, we're starting to see drivers actually close down on Drake Dempsey's time, who also, he's still currently in the pit, so he's confident with what he's got at the moment, meaning he can save a pair of soft tyres if he decides to skip a run. But Harvey Cohen pushing very wide on the exit of turn 13, and can he put himself onto pole? He comes up to the line, it is going to be pole, and it's going to be a 16-7, so he drops down even further, and I'm gonna say, Badger, I'm going to retract my sentence of 16-2. I honestly thought that they could go a little faster. Realistically realistically, a 16-6, 16-5 at a push.
Yeah, I think the driver's already pushing the limit here with a 16-7. I think we won't see much more than that. 16-6 is the highest I would expect. Miklavcic to the line. There's another 16-7, 1,000th of a second behind the provisional pole sitter Harvey Cohen. I mean, you can't cut it any thinner than that, can you?
No, you can't even write something like that to get that close. But taking account, this is only second run for a lot of the drivers, so we still have a potential another 2 runs, one depending on the strategy they're doing. Now, Sergio Sobrino, on the other hand, might be getting feisty here, doing a purple middle sector for himself. The question is, did he purple the first? We don't know, but he is flying right now. He's not set a lap time yet, invalidating on his first lap. So round turn 12 into turn 13, try and use as much curb on 13, and then this is hard to try and transfer the weight to the opposite direction without the oversteer, but these guys making it look easy, and it's only good enough for P5. So a purple middle isn't enough in comparison to the rest of his lap time.
Yeah, that to me says that there's some kind of setup difference maybe, or just a comfort difference, that he feels very comfortable in the middle sector, but he doesn't feel comfortable in the first and the last sectors. But if you look at the layout of the sectors, purple middle sector to me says he's got a setup that's very good on high downforce through high speed corners. What he's lacking, if he's losing that much in the final sector, is your low and medium speed downforce. It's the suspension not working properly, maybe. But his wings seem to be working just fine. And it seems like if he's decent in the first sector, then his wings aren't too high either. So I think maybe either something to do with the ride height, with camber and toe, maybe with the suspension geometry. I don't know what exactly it is, but there might be some issues to look into for... who was it we're talking about? Sergio Sobrino, right?
Yes.
Yes, there you go. Look, I'm getting to 30. I'm starting to get a bit old. I'm starting to get a bit forgetful, okay?
The dementia's kicking in. The dementia's kicking in. I'll tell you who hasn't kicked in his dementia is Simon, who does put it onto P3. And this is more the lap times we're wanting to see. The closeness between these drivers. Top 4 split only by a 10th between them all. And then there's a little jump to Modesmina. But we know that these drivers that normally we've seen in previous races, this gap being what, 0.2 of a second difference between the entire grid. So the likes of Jeffrey Ritchie, who's been at the top quite a lot and hasn't put down his best lap, as well as Jeno, is it Jene? Jene. I don't think I have him on my list. Is he a new driver? Oh, no, he is. Yene. Oh,
no,
he's a reserve.
He's a reserve.
Yeah. Welcome, Yene. And Drake Dempsey goes a little bit faster again.
Jeffrey Ritchie, meanwhile, almost putting it in the wall in the final corner, but instead, how did he find any space there? That's 4 thousandths behind Harvey Cohen, 3 thousandths behind Primoz Miklavčić, and 400ths of a second ahead of Simon Wukomski. Like, how do you fit in there?
You somehow do, and it's going to be Primoz's third attempt, I think it is, for him now. So whether he's going to improve, if he improves by only 10 thousandths of a second or something, and puts it as 1-1 at 0, I'm going to laugh my head off. But I'm sure that's not what he's going to be looking at. Tell you what, Badger, do you want to talk us through this lap?
Sure. Is it Primoz?
Primoz, yes please, in the Aston Martin.
It is. All right. So we're already through the first sector. Fast right-hander here. You really have to trust the car to go through there, and then it's just flat out from here. You try to hug the inside line. Shorten the distance. It's very important here. You want to travel minimum distance, so you try to straighten that out. You hug the inside line. Then you drift to the outside because you need to set up the next corner. Right side wheel to the left side wheel to the right side. Oh! And that is a crash, and that is Primoz out of the qualifying session. He will not improve anymore. That is the danger of turns 9 and 10, formerly 11 and 12. You get a little bit of a slide, and 9 out of 10 times, it is over.
So easy. It is dead easy in it, and especially when you're not with a new layout of this track, you're carrying more speed than you were before. As Tom97 goes and puts himself 6th fastest, that's a time that is a lot more respectable. The Hash driver puts himself into 10th as we wait for someone else to come out. But yeah, you're carrying more speed, so it's so much easier to just clip the rear end onto that curb and spin yourself out. So, unfortunate, but his time's respectable, though. It is a respectable time. I just feel, though, he's going to drop down. He is going to drop down quite a bit.
Yeah, certainly a couple of places. I can't see him stay in the top 5. That would, in my opinion at least, be a little bit of a miracle there. But can I just draw your attention to something else, since you already mentioned the lap times so far? The gap between P1 and P2 is bigger than the gap between P2 and P6.
Huh.
Drake Dempsey has absolutely shattered his competitors with his lap earlier on, and he's still in the pit lane. He's making his way out now, as Yerne Dovjan, by the way, is trying to make it back to the pits. He actually entirely cut turns 9 and 10, making it here, so he can get a new set of tires on and maybe get one more run, as we are waiting for the storm, as I always like to call it, because normally before this, we don't have any drivers out on track, and that's why I like to call the calm before the storm. So right now we're going to see the storm, and it will start with Sergio Sabrino. He'll be the first one to cross the line and go on a flying lap. 5th gear out of the corner. You want to keep the car stable there. And off he goes. Let's examine this one then. Since Primoz put it in the wall. Turns 1 and 2. You want to take quite a bit of entry and exit curve there. Very, very important to maximize track limits. Turn 3, heavy braking zone. Get to the inside and get on the power nice and early. A little bit careful. Yerne has retired in the pit lane. That is because he knew he wasn't going to be able to make it out again, so very unlucky for him. And once again, you want to trust the car here and then shorten the distance. Hug the right side. He doesn't do it as much as Primoz did. That can cost you a couple of thousandths, and that can be the difference, as we see, between P2 and P5. So very difficult here through
no!
Oh my goodness, both Aston Martins crashing almost identically in the same corner. Unbelievable. And Harlan Marquis just went past that, has invalidated. So Jack Humphrey is going to be next as he makes his way down to turn 11. Looking good so far. I think there can be an improvement for Jack All he needs to find is just over a 10th, and he'd be in the top 7. So definitely a chance for him to get something down. Misses the apex of the final corner. That definitely cost him a little bit of time, but it is still a P7, as I suspected there, as he comes across the line. Then we have a spinner. Is that that is Modesto Mena spun in the final corner, and Tom Martinez just crossed the line. Modesto Mena just crossed the line as well. I think Tom tried to leave it late to start a lap, but failed. Modesto Mena spins again in turn 1, but that won't bother anybody. Leroy Brown stays in P9. I think next one is Szymon Łukomski, as he is making his way through the final corner. Can he improve? He hasn't invalidated, so this one's good. Is it good enough? It is P3, as he beats McCluffchich, as Harvey Cohen has improved, by the way. He's on a cooldown lap now. That is P2 for him. And we are waiting for Thomas Harvey, I think. He's about the only one left. 44-1 after 2 sectors. This might be a banger of a lap. Thomas Harvey through the final 2 quarters, coming to the left-hander here. Don't overshoot it. Final corner. You would want a bit more entry, I think. Bit wider entry, but is it good? How good is it? 16-8, it is P6 for Thomas Harvey.
Came down to the wire, and when the pressure builds on people, mistakes are formed. We saw 2 drivers, two very simple mistakes in a sense, from both Aston Martin drivers. Clearly, pressure getting to them, and you just end up going into the wall. And this track, we didn't really talk about it much, but it is track limit galore, this track is, because it's one of those street circuits that you can run wide, you can easily dip your tyres onto it. It's actually considered AstroTurf, that little bit of curb on the edge there. You can dip your tyre in and just continue going. So you drivers push that limit way too far, hence why Thomas Harvey went down to the last lap to put in his best time.
Yeah, it's also very important to note that there is track evolution. So with every lap that the drivers make around this circuit, the track does get better, does get grippier, provides more downforce, more traction, and it's not much, it's a subtle difference, but it obviously does make the lap just a bit faster, and you want to leave it to the very end. But Drake Dempsey did not leave it to the very end. He set his lap early, and yet he is on pole position, just 1/40th of a second ahead of Harvey Cohen, and then there's a 10th gap. I mean, look at the difference. From P1 to P13, from first to last, 4/10 of a second, not even. That is incredible.
It is impressive, and I think what's more impressive is that the top 7 separated by 2/10 of that, while all of them are fairly close. Now, clearly, Drake Dempsey put in a stonker of a lap time to be a 10th ahead of 3rd place. So we'll be keeping an eye on the American, seeing if he can convert that to a win, because he hasn't actually won in the last 4 races. He's been up there, he's been amongst the mid-pack, but then there's slight problems that has meant that he's then gone and dropped down the field. Now, I've just spotted in the corner of my screen, I don't know if you spotted it, Tom 97's going to start on hards.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now as well. Thanks for pointing that out. Interesting choice there. So let's quickly
go over... No, it's mediums. He's changing to mediums now.
Yeah. Drivers are going to be changing. So the expected strategies, there are 2 possible. The better one, so I wasn't surprised at the hard tires, really, because soft to hard or hard to soft is the best strategy available here, but medium to hard also works. However, the big quirk about this track is that you have the C5, C3, and C2 compounds for soft, medium, and hard, respectively, which means this is the only track that skips a compound. The C4 is not being used here. So the soft tire is just so much better than mediums and hards that you really want to use the soft tire.
5 lights are showing, no formation because of the glitch, and we're off. And again, Drake is on for a good start from the get-go, and he's going to pull right away while the Aston Martin of Primoz will push himself up into third, and the rear of Jack Humphreys also gaining a couple of positions there. And it seems fairly clean from the get-go, but the Ferrari of that's Modest Marina trying to push his way up through the grid. He started a bit further back, not where he wants to be, especially because he's in championship fight as well, so he needs to work his way up through the grid from P6 now, but all fairly clean from the get-go.
Yeah, meanwhile, let's talk about the tires, since this is the first time we see them. Everyone's on hards except Tom97. So, this is going to be interesting. Either Tom is on the alternate strategy, pitting early, going for an undercut on everyone else, or he's going to try to make a medium to soft work, which is going to be incredibly difficult because it is 29 laps. The softs last about 9 laps, and the mediums last about 16. You do the math, that is 25. 29 is what they're going to have to do. So, very, very difficult to make that happen, but I wouldn't put it past him. I would not put it past him.
Well, the medium tires are working well because Tom97 has already pushed himself up to P4. We can see Jeffrey also, he's actually lost a position, so I got that wrong. I thought he moved up, but he is now trying to get past Simons, who, again, he's lost a couple of positions from the get-go. So that Williams not working out all too well as Jeffrey has a look, decides against him. Well, Jack, you can lunges in behind him, and there's a spinner at the back.
Järni.
Oh, no, the Haas driver not working out for him, and that's
it wasn't just him. Leroy Brown
Yeah.
apparently involved as well. And Leroy is letting him pass. Or is he? They're not really sure what they're doing, but yeah, Leroy is letting him pass. They're still going slowly. I don't know what exactly happened there, but I think that was gentleman's agreement there from Leroy saying, okay, I messed up, that was my bad. I'll at least give that position back. So I gotta say kudos to Leroy Brown for doing that. He could have just waited until, you know, penalty post-race, but I think that should you know, make the stewards think twice whether to give him a penalty, because he clearly shows, hey, I messed up, my bad. Everyone have the position back, I'm sorry. And very honorable thing to do.
Talking of honorability, I don't know how much Primoz will defend the attack from Tom97 as he's already closed the gap. There was only a small one, I will say, about half a second from the gap. Oh, Primoz goes wide, and Tom97 will take the opportunity to get the overtake early. But yeah, Tom97, those mediums are really fired up right now, and he's taking full advantage on the fact he has that softer compound of tire. So he is going to attack constantly. Already, look at him. He's up the rear end of the Red Bull now.
Yeah, half a second difference between the mediums and the hards, especially this early on. That will remain that way for a couple of laps. So Tom97 really has a decent advantage over everyone. If you remember, 3/10 was the difference between between first and last in qualifying. So 5/10 make Tom97 the fastest car on track right now simply by the virtue of his tires. So he should have an advantage over everyone else, at least for now, and he needs to use it, and he needs to use it quickly. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's driving with a sense of urgency, which his strategy requires him to do. This is awareness right there. This is what some drivers just don't have, and some do. And Tom97 clearly has it.
I'll tell you what as well, I'm just right on the onboard, you can just see the numbers on his steering wheel. 80% of ERS, so even though he's driving with urgency, he's not actually using a lot of ERS, so he's not going full attack just yet. So he is biding his time currently right now, but we know he can instantly turn on, and when he wants to make a move, he will make a move as he goes through he's going to be coming through the newly profiled Sector 2, and he is extremely close to Harvey. And we've mentioned this before, but turn 9 is now a viable overtaking zone because you can make the move through this curve and late brake, usually around the outside.
Yeah, you can do it both ways if you have, especially if you have a tire advantage. Therefore, a grip advantage, you can certainly make it work around the outside or the inside, whichever way you want, really. But I think Tom97 really likes the spot that he has for himself right now. All the drivers, by the way, are still on very, very much energy. At least in the top 4 they are, all with at least 80% battery charge. So Tom97, not the exception, but the rule within the top 4, as they are making their way down the main straight. Once again, we get some more fastest laps, and we get Szymon Łukomski, the first one, with a penalty. That will be a 3 second for a bit of corner cutting there, and that might come back to haunt him later on in the race. But yeah, Tom97 really looking strong there. My goodness, he is all over the back of Harvey Cohen there. That is fantastic to watch.
I honestly think he's close enough now to make a turn 9 move. We ride on board with him. You could see the slight activation of the RS. He's thinking about it. He knows he wants to do it. Is he close enough? No, he's not close enough just yet to make it into turn 9, but he's preparing himself. He gets a good run through 9 and 10. He could make a lunge into turn 11, sorry. But again, the good exit from Harvey Cohen, and he's holding ground, holding traction brilliantly. If anywhere, realistically, the closest points that Tom has is into turn 9. That's where he's the closest, as Primoz nearly runs into the rear end of Tom97. To make a point, all these drivers, there is no break between the top 10. All of them are running within a tenth of each other, which means every single driver is getting DRS, bar Drake Dempsey, who's leading this race. So critically, overtaking is just that little bit harder.
Yeah, and that's the problem right now. That's, I think, why Tom97 just decides, you know what, I like this spot here. He will get the undercut if he does go for a medium to hard strategy. If he goes for a medium to soft strategy, he will still get a slight undercut on everyone else. But the question now becomes, maybe he's just going into tire saving mode. Maybe this is what this is. He takes the P3, and maybe he wants to go for the medium soft strategy, and he just says, you know what, I'll just stay behind these guys, save my tires, don't really use them for too much, and, you know, just go with the flow. That's really what it is here. He's looking for a move, at least dummying it there into turn 11, but I don't think there was ever a chance, and Harvey Cohen certainly wasn't very afraid by that. So they all go on right now. Earlier, this is just all the drivers getting a feel for each other again. You have to do this at the start of every race. You have to see in what shape are your fellow drivers. Like, how good are they today? How consistent are they today? Where are they strong and where are they weak? Because each driver has obviously some parts where they are driving
just going to
strong,
jump in because Tom's riding up the rear end of the Red Bull this time, and I honestly thought he was going to make the move on this lap. He's done a couple of dummy moves, as you pointed out. So clearly now he's in a position. He's doing, as you said, he's worked out the drivers. He's worked out the strengths and weaknesses, and clearly he's found some pace into Sector 1. But we also know he's got pace in Sector 2, so he's ready. He's ready to pounce. Just to also point out, Jake Humphries also in P7 fighting with Simon in P6. He doesn't have to do much with Simon with a penalty, but he is also riding extremely close with Simon, possibly a move inbound.
Yeah, we're gonna wait and see. We're gonna see what exactly happens. For now, I wouldn't expect too much, because again, right now you can't win the race, but you can certainly lose it. And at least for Tom97, it will all come down to saving tires right now and strategy. Those are his two biggest aces up his sleeve, really. And if he can save the tires and make a medium to soft work, we don't know exactly what his strategy will be. It could be medium to soft, and he goes super long on these tires, on those mediums, 16 is what they should do. In order for a medium soft strategy to work, he has to take them 19 laps, which is going to be a challenge. But with some tire saving, it might be possible. But at the same time, he could just go for a medium to hard, where he pits around lap. Really, he could pit now if he wanted to, but I think it would be probably better to pit around lap 11, 12. That's when the pit window for him would open on a medium to hard strategy. But obviously, it would leave him so vulnerable later on when everyone else is on these super quick softs, a second and a half faster than the hard tires. So he will just be a sitting duck at this point.
He would be, but at the same time, if you're pitting now, you get the advantage of clear air. You don't have any, like, I'm not saying there's much dirty air on these cars because of the new redesign of the cars, making it much easier to stay close with one another. So he would be able to just do quali lap after quali lap after quali lap and then put himself in a great position. But I'm with you. I think it's too early to pit now. And I honestly don't think that medium to hard is the right strategy. Unless things go wrong and somebody messes up and a safety car's called, he should really stay to a medium soft and try and eke that out. Because he's in a great position. He's still up the rear end and he's still got a mass amount of ERS. So why not? Why not take that risk? And plus, he's not been fighting with the top lot in this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, not really. The season so far for him hasn't been the greatest. He's been struggling quite severely. So for him to be even up here, not something you would have expected. But if you know Tom 97, you know he's a competitor. You know he's a fighter. He's trying everything he can. He's running a bit wide there now. I think that's his tires now starting to go off a little bit, which has me thinking maybe his idea is, you know what, I'm going to stay with this lot for as long as I can. The moment DRS is gone, he's dipping into the pits. I think that would be a smart strategy to play it, to say, you know what, let's just have him drag him along, and when he can't be dragged along anymore, when his tires are so dead that he just can't be dragged along anymore and he loses so much time, then, okay, well, tires are dead, to the pit lane we go, and on for some fresh boots. It's not a dumb strategy at all. It's a very clever strategy to think about it this way. Clearly, Tom has played some F1 Manager in the 2-week break. I've been quite addicted to it as well, I have to admit. But yeah, I think this might be his thinking here. Go against the grain, let them drag you along once your tires wear out, and then, you know, just pit when they can't drag you along anymore. You're too slow.
It sounds like a good strategy to me. Unfortunately, I do not play F1 Manager, so I probably should start playing it if that's the mindset we're going in. I just want to point out, we've been currently watching Jake Humphries nearly making an overtake into this corner here. Turn 11, nearly made the move onto Simon, but he was just that little bit too far away, unable to make the move. But I mentioned it before, Jake Humphries been pushing Simon quite regularly, closing the gap, getting to overtaking opportunity, but then backing out because of this DRS train. Nobody has broken this DRS train for 10 laps. Now 11, sorry.
Not exactly true. Modesta Mina did not get DRS this time around.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah, at the detection point he was... Oh, no, he did. It doesn't show for me. Interesting. It just doesn't show for me, but apparently he did get it. Okay, apologies for that wrong notification there. Clearly, I'm having a visual bug that I wasn't aware of.
No, no
apologize for that, but he did have DRS. But he was very close. It was 0.9. It was hovering right around the 1 second mark when he got to the detection point, but clearly he must have gotten it just about.
He's kept himself in, which means that he's kept within the fight, and it's still to play for. I feel we're going to start seeing some actions when the pit stop window opens, for sure. Oh, yeah. When that opens up, we'll see drivers start to go, yeah, let's now overtake. Because one thing I've learned since doing Tier 2, and especially with these guys, is they're very patient men and women, because you don't know if some of them are women. Very patient people. There you go. Generalized it. very patient people who won't make moves until critical moments. So critical moment 1 is at the start of the race. Critical moment 2 is the pit stop period. May that be 2 pit stops. There may be 2 moments, might be 1 moment, which then gives you a fun middle. And then it gets calm before like the last 3 laps where we see the action. And especially in Austria, we saw action going left, right, and center with a few drivers who actually aren't racing today. One of them being Viatri, definitely getting punchy on the last few laps. So it maybe look very calm, and I know it's not the most, you know, entertaining to watch. We want to see action left, right, and center, but it's all strategy, and hence we were talking about the what Tom97's doing, and the patience you have to have is it's phenomenal. Something I don't have.
Yeah, Yellow Flag Mimo said just Sabrino is around in Sector 1. No front wing on the car, and spin as well. So very unfortunate situation there for him. I think if there isn't a safety car, that might be his race over. But I would like to see, this is, you know, talking about the mindset of a racer here. I would like to see him continue because you never know what might happen. Yes, with 13 drivers, the chances of a safety car are slim to none. But you never know. Maybe there will be a safety car, and you can then go onto medium tires, and you can then try to make some overtakes happen, and maybe salvage this race just a little bit. Never give up until, I would say, until you're lapped. That's really, because the game doesn't allow you to unlap yourself. So the moment you're lapped, yeah, it's, oh, Tom with a massive slide out of turn 3. I mean, yeah, that's the tire we're kicking in on the rears, I think, for Tom97 there. Wow.
I did not capture that. I did not capture that.
That was Rallycross more than it was F1.
Wow, that's pretty dangerous, as pretty much we'll be looking on that. He's got the perfect sight for it. But talking about Primoz, Jeffrey Ritchie, he's now close. He's really pushing Primoz, and a couple of drivers are now getting a lot closer than they normally would to one another. So are we starting to see maybe a couple of moves to open up? And Jeffrey Ritchie has a look. So we're getting to the point, we're coming up to pit window area. So this is where we're going to start to see the drivers start to go, right, we need to make some moves so we can jump these guys in the pits, or we're going to have to rely purely on strategy, which, to be honest, most of these guys are going to do the same.
Yeah, the only one who's going against the grain once again is Tom97. And now that lap 13 is over, lap 13 is when the pit window for... Oh my goodness! He's just getting another slide there in turn 2. Oh, now he's under pressure from Miklavcic, but not quite there yet is Primoz. So Tom's still holding on. But yeah, you can see the tires are starting to go off now. Yeah.
Ooh.
The tires starting to go off now. We're 13.5 laps into the stints. The mediums right now are sitting probably at a solid, I would guess, around 60% wear. That's when they start to fall off the cliff. The hards, they should be around 45 to 50. They still have a couple of good laps left in them. They're not in great condition anymore, but they can still hang. They can still go. But those mediums for Tom97, they are going to struggle now. And you can see that the gap, he was all over Harvey Cohen. He was draped all over that rear wing of the Red Bull. Now he has a clearly visible gap to the top 2 in front. And he does pit, so that's for hards. That is definitely not for soft. And he's not the only one. Jeffrey Ritchie follows him in.
Yeah, that's critical to see what goes on. It is the hard tyre, so you are correct. So switcheroo from medium to hard. He's going for the long game. Jeffrey Ritchie also in. Now, for people who are new to F1 2022, these drivers now have to hit a marker, press a button, and that will determine your time of pit stop. It will be a frame of window from 2.3 to 2.6, or 2.6 to a horrible 3.2 second pit stop. So critically, there is more interaction with these guys where they have to put some input into the car. Critically now,
yeah.
So I was just going to make one last point. Tom97 and Jeffrey Ritchie now have the opportunity to heat up those tyres quickly and try and chase down the rest of the pack while they have to pit and come out on on cold tyres.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think this is going to get interesting now. Which drivers are deciding to stay out on the hard tires? Which drivers deciding to respond and come in for mediums? If you stay out, you're going for softs. The other question is, what is Tom 97 going to do with Jeffrey Ritchie? I would say let him buy.
Dempsey
That's
and Harvey
exactly, yeah, and Jeffrey Ritchie just went by Tom 97 with no defense whatsoever. And that's the smart thing. Let the guy with the better tires, the medium tires, pull you right now. Once again, Tom 97 just hitching a ride. That's exactly what you should do. 5 people pitting. Dempsey, Cohen, McLavchich, Wukomski, and Mena all coming in. And there they all are. My goodness, what a view that was.
It's gonna be tight at the exit for sure. And there goes Jeffrey Ritchie, nearly going into the Aston Martin. But that is held up Jeffrey Ritchie. This is now going to allow Tom 97 to come right into play as both the Ferrari and Aston Martin still going side by side. Has Tom 97 got it past the medium runner of the Aston Martin, he will switch back in to turn 4 and will claim it. So luckily, Tom 97 holding his own critically. He has technically lost a position here.
Yeah, but he held his own there in the fight against Primož Roglič because he had warmer tires. You got to remember, 70-degree tire temperature once they come out of the pit lane. Tom had a lap to warm those hards up, so they should be in working range now. Miglavcic's tires, they are going to be right now at about 76, 77 degrees. 80 is when the working range starts, so they're still not there. They will be probably by the end of the lap, especially because it's mediums. They should warm up a little bit quicker. But yeah, that certainly helped. And now Humphreys, Marquez, and Harvey coming in. Absolutely no one, to my surprise, is going for the hard to soft strategy. Literally everyone on medium to hard or hard to medium. Interesting. I actually thought that some drivers were going to go for the hard to soft strategy, but alas, no driver felt risky enough, even though the soft tire is just that good around here that you could possibly make it work towards the end. But to look at Drake Dempsey, meanwhile, he's driven out a full second. No DRS for Jeffrey Ritchie right now.
That is critical because now Harvey's tires have got some temperature. They're going to start to build up. And he's now can fight back against Jeffrey Ritchie. So we're still, as I mentioned earlier, we're still in kind of this phase where the attack from these drivers will unfold. So they are going to try and be a bit punchy. But a few laps later, because all of these guys have now pitted. They've all pitted. They've all done what they need to. In a few laps, they're then going to go back to what we saw earlier in the Grand Prix. With a nice stay behind each other, wait for the right near the end now of the Grand Prix, and then make your move. So it's now or never really for Harvey to make a move, and he isn't really that close to mount an attack. So critically, he has lost a critical position, and the fact that Jeffrey Ritchie isn't closing the gap to Drake Dempsey, who's now 1.2 seconds ahead of him. I think Drake, and I'm going to be real here, and I'm not going to call it early unless he goes and spins it. Drake's got this in the bag.
It certainly looks like it, especially if you consider that Drake has about a 50% battery advantage over Jeffrey Ritchie. You didn't hear me wrong there. 50. Half the battery. Ooh. Drake has more than half the battery, and you see Jeffrey Ritchie has the blinking red light on his car. That means he's below 10%. So clearly a massive advantage. Sergio Sabrino retires in the pit lane. That is a yellow flag for now, but don't worry about it. That will disappear in just a moment. Drake Dempsey is having a massive advantage right now over Jeffrey Ritchie and Harvey Cohen. And this is exactly what Jeffrey Ritchie needs to do. You have to play this tactically here. You have to say, you know what, I don't have the ERS right now, but maybe Harvey Cohen does. And if he does, he needs to hunt down that Haas right now. You got to work together sometimes. You got to build temporary alliances. And I think That's what we're seeing here with Cohen and Richie. That is exactly what we are seeing here. 1.2. The gap was 1.5, so Harvey Cohen doing a good job hunting him down. If he can hunt him down, get within a second, everything might be on again. That is going to be incredible to see. This is the battle right now. The battle for 1 second within or out of it. Harvey Cohen, oh my goodness. 066, 68,
It's
67.
right on the cusp. It really is.
Yeah, and there it is, under a second now.
Which means
Harvey
DRS.
Cohen. Yeah, and Harvey Cohen has used all of his battery to get there. Oh, Drake Dempsey didn't use all of his to avoid it. And I think that's a mistake. I truly think that is a mistake. DRS is not that powerful on this year's game. But once you do have it, you can slowly but surely work your way back to the next car. And that's exactly what Harvey Cohen is going to do here. Oh my. I think that's a missed opportunity for Drake Dempsey. If he pushes a bit more there, if he uses a bit more of his battery, goes down to, let's say, 30, 20%, uses it tactically in the right spots, he's gone. He wins this race, and I have no doubt about that. But he didn't. He decides to keep battery, and now Harvey Cohen and Jeffrey Ritchie are back in this and can potentially rebuild their battery charge in the remaining 10 laps of this race.
Yeah, but critically, as you mentioned, Drake Dempsey still has battery life, so if he wants to pull, he could try and attempt to pull away. Talking of gaps as well, I want to draw our attention down to P4. Primož is on the cusp of losing his little DRS on the back of the top three, so he needs to use some form of whatever he has left, which clearly is nothing because he's got a red light on the rear of his car. So he's going to be out of this top three fight. That got a bit sketchy from Primož. And he's got to do something from there. Further back, P6, the battle for P5 actually, has been ramping up quite a bit. As Jake Humphries got past Simmons, I think it was a lap ago, into turn 3. So these guys are close to one another. And a lot of them still got some decent amount of VRS under their belt as well. So we might be seeing some battles. I just saw the light for Tom97. So we might get an overtake sometime soon.
Yeah, meanwhile, you said that Drake could still make a run for it and try to build a gap. Sure, but he already had the 1 second gap. And he had a battery advantage over the cars behind him. Now the gap is clearly below a second. It's below half a second. He still has the battery advantage, but he doesn't have the gap anymore. It would have been so much easier when you already have the gap to then make it bigger, increase it to 1.5 seconds, maybe even 2 seconds. And that's safe at that point. You're not going to lose that anytime soon. Now, if he wants to make a run, he'd have to use all of his battery, and it might still not work. So that's the danger for Drake Dempsey right now in the house. And at the same time, he's going to have to pull this train. And because of the DRS, Harvey Cohen, well, he's already back up to 20% ERS battery charge. So he was on 5. He's already rebuilding his battery. He's not using any anywhere. He's got the DRS to pull him along. And he says, you know what? Yeah, drag me along. And then on lap 27, 28, 29, when he's rebuilt enough, he's going to say, well, and now give me the victory.
Absolutely. We just saw on screen Jake Humphries getting past Tom97. Critically, we mentioned his light was flashing, so no ERS for him. He pulled to the side, let Jake Humphries by, and that was good day for him. And I've got a feeling Simmons behind him technically is flashing at the moment, so no ERS. But Simmons is also running the Tom's on the hard, so he's not finding the pace that he wants to on those tyres as well. So I don't think he's going to be holding up position too long. That alternate strategy not working out for him. And then up the front...
not working yet.
Yet. It might come at the end, but the likelihood something like that will work is not going to be too much. But there at the back, we've got Harless Marquis going to try and run into turn 9. He has to yield the position, which critically will now make him drop back into the line and path of Thomas Harvey, but Harvey just too far back to really capitalise on the attempt made by Harless Marquise. And I always love it when you try something into turn 9.
Yeah, it always gives me a bit of a, sort of flashbacks of, things that have happened when I was playing F1 in previous installments, and I don't like seeing it because it's generally not a place where you can really overtake. You need both drivers to work together, and granted, these are some of the best drivers on F1, but the drivers I always raced against, because I'm not one of the best drivers on F1, I tend to race against drivers that aren't either. So you can't trust people as much in my skill level as these guys can with each other here. But I'm still looking at that front group. Drake Dempsey doing a good job of regaining his own battery charge as well. He was around 60, he's up to 75 now. So he's doing a good job. But Harvey Cohen is already back up to 30%. He's just not using any battery whatsoever. Just being dragged along here by Drake Dempsey and just, enjoying the Australian sunshine, I guess.
Well, if you have your arms out the car as well, you might get a nice tan while you're at it. But critically, Drake needs to start to think strategically here. We're closing into the end of the race. The third point of action is the end of the race. So critically, he's got to think, right, what do I have to do to keep this position? Clearly, it's going to be battery life and defending like hell. I'll tell you also, Primoz has also closed the gap. He was on the cusp of dropping away from this group, and he's brought himself back into the group. So he's clearly used a bit of the RS, using now the toe between these three, and getting himself in a position ready to fight come, what shall we say, lap 27. We're going to see some action, maybe?
Yeah, most likely a little bit later, I would think, because of the battery charge of Harvey Cohen. I think we're going to see it a little bit later on. 28 is my guess. But you said Drake Dempsey needs to get a plan for what he wants to do once we get there. My plan, if I was in this situation, his situation, which, again, I would think that I wouldn't be in this situation because I would have used the battery earlier on, driven away into the sunset and celebrated victory. But granted, I don't have his raw pace, not even close, but that's a different story. But the plan I would take right now, if I was in this position, is I'd say, you know what, around lap 25, 26, I'd say, Harvey, you wanna lead? You wanna go past? And then
Really?
I'd sit behind and wait for him to burn some of his battery. And if he doesn't do it, then I'm just gonna rush him. Lap 27, 28. Second place right now is the best you could be in. Not P1, especially if you have some battery charge, because an attack from P2 is almost, I say almost because there's always a chance, almost indefensible. You cannot keep P1 if P2 has enough battery charge, which Harvey Cohen is currently building up to get. But he needs to be careful, he needs to be strategic with where he deploys it and when and how much.
That's very interesting, because I would have said no, hold your position, stay in the position, the more powerful seat in front, because yes, they might get a run down and they might try and get a good exit or whatever, but you're holding track position. You eliminate that, then you have that challenge of somebody who's going to push the car wide, push you wide, and it's going to get a bit saucy. Yeah, it's great for us to watch, but strategically speaking, I would call and say, right, come those last few laps, get your elbows out, push that Red Bull wide. But, you know, you're more the racer than I am, so we'll have to wait and see, because he's not letting past, he's holding his ground, so I feel he's going my strategy over yours at the moment.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to say to that, your strategy is a lot more intuitive, whereas mine is, I think, a bit more counterintuitive, because you have to take a couple more things into account. You have to trust your own overtaking ability. You have to trust a couple of things. And a couple of things have to go your way, as Harvey Cohen got a massive moment there on the exit curb. of I think turn 6 that was, turn 5, apologies. I think if you follow my strategy, if you follow my advice, and it fails, you look like an absolute fool. That's the risk you're running. You are absolutely going to embarrass yourself if it fails. Everyone's going to say, well, you should have just held track position, because again, that's the more intuitive way to do it. But here's the thing. I think with my strategy, you give yourself a better chance. So you increase your own fall height. If it fails, it hurts more. But at the same time, I think you also increase your chances of it succeeding.
Absolutely. There's two ways to look at it, and we're going to have to see what unfolds from it. Primoz getting really close into turn 13 once again. He's running deep into that corner, so he's trying to put fear into Jeffrey Richards, who is also... We're not talking about him too much, but he's in a good position as well, because he's building up his battery as well. He's within this toe. He could potentially, if he attacks well, be able to nab possibly second or potentially first. But we're waiting. I think you're right with the lap 28 is when we're going to see these guys unfold and do something. Is Harvey actually dropped back?
Yeah, I think he had a screen stutter, I think is what that was. He had a screen freeze, and that dropped him down to P4. That is the most unlucky timed screen freeze in the history of this game. That's unbelievable. Harvey Cohen, he's gonna completely, not blame, because it is his equipment is to blame for this, but he's just gonna cuss out his own equipment for that. That was the worst timing I've ever seen a screen freeze happen. But Jeffrey Ritchie's gonna say, well,
opportunity.
When in Rome, do as the Romans do. P2, DRS to the leader. Lap 28, I think he's going to try to make a run for it on the final lap here, because there isn't much going on. The one thing you have to keep in mind is that you have on this circuit 2 DRS zones that are governed by the same detection point. That is the main straight and into turn 3. You have one detection point for 2 of them. If you make the overtake happen into turn 1, you can defend easily into turn 3. And you don't have to worry about it, because you get the DRS, not the guy who's attacking you. So that's, I think, what's going to happen here. Jeffrey Ritchie needs to get really up close and personal into the 3rd sector here, and then attack into turn 1 or potentially turn 3. Those are his last real opportunities. And from there, just push like hell.
Absolutely. I think he already has. He's dropped that gap from when Harvey dropped back with the game freeze. He was 8 temps. Now he's put it down to 5 temps. He needs to be closer and 10 times more closer if he wants to mount a move onto Drake Dempsey. But we know Drake Dempsey's got battery life, so he's going to deploy it all down here and for sure into turn 3, as Jeffrey does get a good run through turn 2, and he's going to be looking at what he can do for the lead of the race, but it's not going to be enough. And Drake Dempsey survives sector 1, which only means that sector 3 is where the next overtaking opportunity is, unless you get a massively good run through turn 8. And this is the sector where, if Jeffrey's got anything, he could try something here. He's 8% left. He doesn't really have anything to attack.
No.
He's going to have to sit behind and submit to P2, but he won't go without a fight. Harvey drops out of the fight, so he's not even fighting for a podium here. And I don't think much is going to happen here. Meanwhile, a bit further back, look at this battle here. It's P8. Tom has been knocked out. And there's Simons has just claimed P6. But critically, he's now in danger of losing a position as Harlan Marquis does try and lunge one down the inside. We're going to have to... He's going to also try and make it through turn 12 as well. Brilliantly done. Quickly brought to the front as Drake Dempsey will cross the line and finish and win such a dominant race from the American. Jeffrey comes across the line in second. Harvey does claim third a bit further back. And from the cluster that we just saw at the end, Jake Humphries takes 6, Thomas Harvey takes 6, Jake Humphries 5th, Thomas Harvey 6th, Harley's Marquis takes 7th, and fortunately Simons goes 8th, and Tom 97 down to 11 after a brilliant run from him.
Yeah, very unlucky there for Tom 97, and yeah, he's gonna hate that, I'm sure of it. He was already mentioning after the last race, after 2 weeks ago after Miami, he was already mentioning on his stream I tuned in towards the end that he was not happy with it, and I think he's gonna feel very similar right now. Very hard done by, not happy whatsoever. But sometimes motorsport is a cruel mistress, and I think he just found out again. It's not the first time, and I'm worried it won't be the last, but my goodness, Drake Dempsey, take a bow. What a race. Unbelievable. The strategy in the end, keeping track position, did work out because of the screen freeze of Harvey Cohen. If that doesn't happen, I'm not sure how exactly this race ends, but because of that, it certainly made it a bit easier for Drake Dempsey to defend his position. But he also had so much battery charge build up throughout that second stint, throughout that hard stint at the end there. I think when he entered lap 28, he had over 90% battery charge. So that's just massive. You can't compete with that. DRS is quite weak this year on this game. ERS is massively overpowered. So if you still have 90% on the penultimate lap and you're in P1, yeah, you're basically guaranteed the victory. And Drake Dempsey played his cards absolutely right and deserved this victory. Unfortunately, I think for him, maybe 2 weeks too late. He would have liked that at his home race.
Absolutely. That would have been quite good to have it at his home race, though. He does... Are we going to Kota? Are we going to Kota? No, we're not going to Kota, which is kind of sad, actually, because I do love that track. But he might have... the closest track to his home country is Canada, which will be the 7th round of this race. But next week, we're heading to Silverstone, a track which is... I think there's not been a year Silverstone has not been in this calendar.
Yeah, it's the British bias again. As a German, I can say that. But no, I can tell you why Silverstone is in the calendar all the time, every time. It just makes for great racing on this game. It's been true for the last at least 4 years that Silverstone always, without exception, produces great racing on the F1 games by Codemasters. Every race I have ever commentated on Silverstone has been an instant classic, and I'm not kidding. I remember each and every single one of them because they were so manic in the end. They were so chaotic. They were all coming down to the wire. There was always 4, 5, 6, 7 people that were in the mix. It's sort of the same thing as Austria. Austria is another one of those tracks, because Austria obviously has the 3 consecutive DRS zones where no one's ever gonna get lost, and then like 5 corners in between.
Exactly.
Yeah, so no, it's like oval racing pretty much on F1. Silverstone is also a bit of oval racing, but in a different way, because you have a lot of fast corners, almost flat out corners. If you think about cops these days, it's almost flat out. Maybe not early on in the race, but especially later on in the race, completely flat out. You think about Maggots Becker's Chapel, you lift once or twice. Stowe is a bit of a braking zone. Valen Club, okay, fair enough. But then comes the next DRS zone, the detection point before turn 3. So, you know, you're not going to lose much time there. The DRS zones are just so well separated that you have the Wellington Straight, you have the Hangar Straight, and in between there's not much that can separate drivers from each other. You just have a lot of fast corners and like 1 or 2 slow corners. So everyone's going to stay close to each other, and it'll all come down to qualifying and strategy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love to see a sprint race done on this one. Of course, WOR implementing the sprint race. We had that in Bahrain, which definitely spiced things up quite a bit. But no, the next sprint race is going to be Belgium, which is the race after Great Britain. So we're going to be getting our hands ready for that little joyous bit, which, if I remember rightly, that's one of your favourite tracks, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Spa. I think it's a favorite track of almost everyone. Spa is just a classic circuit. 7 kilometers long. You won't find any longer than that. Yeah, I saw you shake your head. I have to shake my head in response.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I prefer Monza. Monza is a better track in my opinion. I feel that it's just.
You don't have to choose. You can like both.
For sure.
That's the beauty of tracks. You can just say, "Oh, I like Belgium and I like Monza." You know. Personally, I like Imola. Unfortunately, not on this year's calendar for WOR. But I'm gonna talk to Luke, and maybe we can change that for next season.
just bribe him with some money. Come on, man. Come on, add it in. But that being said, what a race today. Badger, any last words about the race today?
Just a fantastic strategy call from Drake Dempsey. Got a bit lucky, as I said, with Harvey Cohen getting a screen freeze there, but you know, it is what it is. Sometimes, you know, you'd rather be lucky than good. Drake Dempsey today was both.
Absolutely, and congratulations to Drake Dempsey for his first victory in WOR Tier 2 for this season, which will definitely bring a boost of confidence for the American, and we look forward to seeing him fighting amongst the top. Stay tuned. Next week is, as you probably worked out, Tier 1's finished, so we are your primary, now primary tier, as Tier 2 becomes the new Tier 1. So see you next week at Silverstone.